Well, what do you do? I mean, we can't even take a half load.
Right.
Well,
Make commitments.
we can't really take a half load yet. Well, we should be able to, yeah.
You're live.
You know, there'd be a little more fuel sold here, but before we got a half load.
Yeah.
Because we could only fill like, I think we,
Well,
maybe bank members.
we'll call the meeting to order.
That's all right. But
It's 7. I have 7:04. And you, let's see. We got Rick Donaldson, Robert Petcher. I guess that's,
So Lance, yep, we got Lance.
So I'm here in his stead. I'll introduce myself, but I'm Lance Bowser. I'm a project manager with Robert Pesch and Associates. I've been in the airport group for 18 years. It's just been, I've worked a little bit on some of your projects, but primarily it was, Bill's always been your project manager, so it's just been kind of uniqueness, but I actually I'm the project manager for the bulk of the airports right around you, so it's just kind of, you guys were close enough that it fit either one of us, but I have Ennis and Dillon and Livingston and White Sulphur and Wheatland County, Harleton, and several other airports as well, but quite a few right around you anyway, so this one, as you move into a bigger project, I'll be more involved with Rick, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And actually, this one worked out pretty well anyways, because I see you guys are talking about residential through the fence. And
Can I say, these are all live streamed? And yeah, if you go up there, that way then it's, people can hear.
Sure.
it. Yeah,
since I represent Ennis has residential through the fence, so I have some experience helping them with their pros and cons and the issues that they've run into with it, and I can just help provide you some guidance on what they've been running into and how they make it work and the things that they don't like about it. So I will run through these meeting notes. Feel free to ask questions as I move along here, but AIP 12-2020 is your CARES Act grant. That was a $20,000 grant. You have a little under $14,000 remaining. That can stay open for up to 4 years, so you have a little over 3 years remaining, or a little under 3 years remaining on that grant. It's meant for general operating expenses, utilities, management expenses, debt servicing, that sort of thing. It can be used for owner-operated fuel sales. So you have that hanging out there, and then we're working with the county to accept the Carissa Act application, which is $13,000. It's very similar to the CARES Act one, so it's really meant for the same things, general operating expenses, and you can additionally use that one towards fuel. So and it can stay open for up to 4 years. So we'll help assist with that paperwork. It really doesn't have anything to do with us directly, because it's not meant for engineering or anything like that, or associated with development type projects. It's really meant for general operating expenses. But since they run it similarly to the AIP projects with the same forms, I'm glad to help you out with that. We do hear that there's probably going to be a third round as well later this year, called ARPA. Acronyms, right? I don't even know what that is, but it's another coronavirus relief grant. I don't know the amount on that yet. We hear that it's going to be larger than this Carissa one, but I don't know that. So, and I've recently asked the FAA if they've gotten any more guidance on it, and they haven't. So, they do know it's coming. AIP 14-2021 would be the preliminary engineering and engineering grant towards your major rehabilitation project, pavement rehabilitation project. Anticipated scope of work, preliminary engineering, geotech, survey, design, primarily consisting of the runway and your existing pavements. I know you guys have discussed expanding the apron, expanding taxi lanes. If that comes through and is part of the project, that'll be part of a final design task order in the future. Given the FAA's funding that they have slotted for you, which they actually don't have out until 2023, they asked us to not include that at this time, but we can always include it later if more funding comes through. This is a good step still to go through with this project in 2021. A couple of reasons. One, it's 100% FAA this year, so to get that portion of the work, which you're going to have to complete anyways, through at 100% FAA. Secondly, it gets you more shovel ready. With infrastructure packages and everything else coming out, although they don't have you slotted for money in 2022, other than the non-primary entitlement money that you already have sitting there waiting for the project, that could change at any time with your additional funding. So, let's see here, and then like I just said there, the FAA doesn't have you out for any additional state apportionment to couple with your non-primary entitlement until 2023, where they have $900,000. Even at that, we show that we'd be short money even with that $900,000 in 2023. So, we coordinated to loan $94,800 to Livingston. You did have a little over $200,000 that was subject to use or lose this year, and so although there was only about $40,000 that was going to be use or lose after you do this grant, we didn't have anybody that needed just $40,000. So they've Livingston, it worked out well for them to borrow it, and they can pay that back next year. So they've signed the reciprocal to pay that back next year. We did draft our proposed scope of work and our fees and sent those to the county. The summary's on page 2 there. And then KLJ turned back their independent fee estimate. As a reminder, KLJ estimates what it would cost them to do the project based on a scope of work that we provided with blanked out hours and blanked out fees. So they see the same scope of work that we offer, that we're saying we're going to provide. They came back at $194,000. We had submitted $185,000. We're 5% below that estimate. I reviewed it here this evening, didn't see any issues. Labor hours were very similar. The only thing I noted was that they didn't put any mileage or per diem or anything in, but it wouldn't have been a big dollar amount anyways because we're so close to you anyhow. So they actually probably should have been just a little bit higher than that 194 if they had put that in there, but assuming that was a mistake. Nonetheless, looked good, everything looked fine. There's a little bit of discrepancy between like task order 6 and 7, but it's just how those dollar amounts got structured. So 5% under, we're not recommending any changes to our proposed scope, and I'd be looking for board recommendation to the city and county to accept our fees at that $185,088.53. You guys have questions on that?
I think that's the same number that Rick gave us last month when we went through this thing and chose KLJ for the...
It probably was. At that point in time, he probably would have just given you an estimate of what it was going to be. So it was probably real similar to that. I don't think we had the scope finalized last month.
We had a discussion as far as who they were going to get, and we chose to go with KLJ for a change. So
sure. You guys comfortable with making that recommendation to accept those? To approve those fees at $185 based on the KLJ estimate that's been provided there?
I would move that we accept them.
I would second.
Call for the order.
All in favor?
Is there, I guess, discussion, right?
More discussion?
Adam?
Well, yeah, if there's any discussion, I suppose, then we can vote. Is that how we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you vote first, then discussion, then, or was it?
Take a sec, we got the second, so we
Motion's
time for
made,
discussion.
Seconded, we call for discussion, and then you can go on and vote.
Call for a question on the motion.
Steve,
Do you have any question?
No.
Discussion? No.
You have to make a motion for discussion, Mike?
Oh, it's automatic.
Oh.
And we can go ahead and vote, Mike.
well, Darrell, what do you,
Yeah, no discussion, so if you guys are ready to vote, go ahead and
Yep.
vote.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Looks like
Pass.
the motion is passed.
Okay, moving on, my second request for the board would be to recommend the city and county submit a FAA grant application in the total amount of $188,600. Again, $188,600. That includes the proposed engineering fees that we just discussed, plus $3,500 for the independent fee estimate for KLJ, plus a minor amount of rounding just to get it to an even dollar amount. That rounding doesn't go to us or anything, it just stays in the grant. That total of $188,600 comes 90% from your non-primary entitlements. So that's going to come out of your non-primary entitlements, 90% of it will, $169,740. The 10%, since it's 100% this year, comes from the coronavirus relief funding. So not all 100% comes out of your non-primary entitlement, just 90% does, like it's a typical grant. So I'd be looking for a motion for approval to submit an application for federal assistance in the amount of $188,600, and that would be with zero local share.
I would so move that we approve the $188,600.
Second?
Lance, so this, the grant application will go to the FAA, is that?
That's correct.
Okay. And the coronavirus relief funding, 10%, does that come from their grant money that they already have, or is that already something that's provided through the FAA?
It's something that's provided through the FAA, so it's separate from the grant applications that you've been looking at. There will only be one grant application that we submit. It will be that $188,600. It'll look the same as as the other grant applications you've been seeing. It's just how they fund that. They're going to fund it with 90% from your non-primary entitlements and 10% from the coronavirus relief funding.
That sounds good. So that'll look like the same documents that are going to come to us in the past. Electronic signatures.
Yes, I assume they're gonna turn them out with electronic
Yeah,
signatures.
that
again.
last one, I don't know, for whatever reason, didn't work out. Everybody had to manually sign it, but
It's a relatively new thing that they've been turning them all out. This one, the application will probably turn out hard copy. The grant offer is probably going to come out electronically. So since we're going to populate, the FAA populated those applications, so they turn them out electronically. Since we're going to do this application, we'll send it to you email, but you'll hard copy sign this one.
and that's how you want us to do it, hard copy, and then take it to the city, get their signature, and then get it back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, just so we kind of know that. I
Yeah.
think that's where we kind of got messed up last time. We kept waiting for this electronic signature, and it finally dawned on us, no, we need the hard.
Yeah, and that's unique.
Yeah.
Historically, the FAA
Okay.
doesn't fill these out themselves.
Sure, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Lance, I have a question. That 10% that'll come out of the coronavirus relief funding, that is a different account than this Carissa Act funding that was on the front sheet?
It is.
I suspected that, but I had to ask.
Sure.
So it doesn't count against any other funds that we're talking about?
Yep, correct. It doesn't count against it.
Good.
It'll just come in the form of 188,600 with zero local share. That's the grant in itself.
And then you
The
guys,
only uniqueness is that it's only going to deplete your non-primary entitlement 90% of that
yeah.
amount.
And then you guys take care of the funding to KLJ.
Yep, the county will actually pay it, but we'll get the county reimbursed. We'll
Sure.
take care of it. Yeah. Yes, because that was a direct contract with the county, so
Right.
we'll get the county reimbursed for that $3,500.
Do you anticipate, because we're still 2 years out from the actual work, much rework on engineering?
No, not to the level that we're going to take these with the runway and the existing pavements. The design, as far as how we design it and the shoulders and the longitudinal grade and stuff, that
Doesn't change.
hasn't changed. So we don't anticipate any rework. If there is any minor rework, we wouldn't rebuild it anyways. So if we set it on the shelf and then pick it back up in 2 years and decide that we want to change a few things, it would just get mixed into what we're already doing. There wouldn't be a separate contract for reworking it.
Yep.
If we do expand the scope, there'll be a final design task order. As I said, you guys have talked about apron expansions, additional
Right.
taxi lanes. That's not included in this. So
But
we
if they-
do hope that there is a final design grant that includes some expanded scope, because obviously you guys would like to do that additional pavement while we're doing the
Then do we
major.
have to go through the IFE again?
You'll have to go through the IFE again anyways, just because we'll have construction administration at that
Okay.
time and inspection at that time anyway, so those fees will be airport layout plan update.
Yeah.
That'll be required again.
Okay.
Steve?
Yeah,
Did you want to vote on that?
you guys vote.
He's asking if you have any discussion.
Oh, no.
I got all my questions
Okay.
answered, thanks.
Okay, motion's made. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And we just discussed future, it says 2023, but it could be 2022, 2023 in the future would include final design. Again, that would hopefully be expanded scope of work to include additional pavements, bidding, construction administration, inspection, closeout, another project administration task to administer that second grant. And then really non-project related items, I believe, are on your agenda. I don't know if the hangar homes thing is actually on your agenda, but no real update there. Rick was coordinating with Gary Gates. And then upcoming steps is to have the task order signed by the city and county, as well as the grant application, and have those in place. And we'd expect like a mid-June grant. We probably won't start work on this grant until late this year, just after we get through our big construction push for this year. Then we'll start, we'll probably get the geotech going before then, just to get the geotech out there. But other than that, the real design will be late this fall through the winter time.
Yep. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, Lance, on the hangar home, where you say Gary Gates, blah, 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 related terms, maintaining existing hangar homes until their sale. What do you mean by that?
Gary Gates, they basically approved that the hangar homes would be allowed to stay there as hangar homes until either the leases expired or they sold. And as soon as they sold, that they would not be able to be used as hangar homes by any new owner.
I think we have a disagreement there. We have had sales.
Yeah, I know that's been up in the air several times.
Say again?
I know that's been up in the air several times too. I know Mike was pretty adamant about that too, and but one of them has already been sold and continued on.
Right, but when I bought mine, I was also told there would be an automatic 30-year lease to whoever I sold it to.
Okay. Was that through the county?
I'd have to go back and look.
Probably ought to do that.
But I know Chris got a lease extension.
Yeah.
So there's something that's not jiving here.
Okay, yeah, if you can dig that up on your end, and then we'll coordinate with the FAA.
And one that sold just a year ago. I mean, mine's 17 years.
And they're getting new leases, not carrying on the lease from the, say there it's a 30-year lease and...
I'll have to check it.
Okay.
You know, I wasn't there when he bought and sold and things were transferred.
Well, I was given a new lease.
Oh, there- okay, there's
I just
another
bought
one.
mine 3 years ago, coming up on 4 years ago. And I got a new lease from the airport. It was stating the same terms that it can be used as a home. So,
And those are all 30-year,
20 year.
20-year.
I could be
20 year
could be
with
20.
5 year
Right, there you go. Extension.
extensions. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you can dig up any more information on that and get it to us, and then we'll coordinate further with the FAA. It's not really a sticking point with us, it's just a discussion with the FAA, so there's a lot of proponents for it. They work well when they work well, and then all of a sudden they don't. So,
Again, it's like Gary Gates is coming from where they were 10 years ago.
yeah. Okay, and then the through the fence is on your agenda, and then I covered the next steps, so.
Okay.
You guys have anything else? If not, I'll hang out so I can help you out
Good.
answer any
Appreciate it.
questions.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Do you want me to do that Steve McCullough thing and bring it up to everybody, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately a week ago, Steve McCullough texted me. I don't know whether he knew Mike was back or not. But regardless, he texted me and said that he'd had a request from a realtor to make a offer on 2 pieces of land out here adjoining the airport property. It was where, I believe it was where the pivot goes around and the corners are separate, and Joe didn't buy those from Steve when Steve sold to Joe Nelson. So I said, I had no idea if the board had any feelings about that one way or the other. It would be up to the county, but I would bring it up at the board meeting. So Daryl talked to him yesterday, and you might mention what, so everybody's up to speed on that, what Steve told you.
Sure.
Good evening. So, in speaking with Steve this afternoon, the same thing, those pivot corners that would be on the west end of that field, I think are the ones that, the two lots that are available. And we also had an additional conversation as if maybe some more of that farm ground there could be for sale, but he doesn't own that anymore. That belongs to Joe Nelson. So it would be up to Joe Nelson if he would decide to sell a portion of that so that we, have some expansion in the future for the airport. So that's kind of where we left it. He thought he was going to try to reach out to Joe, see if Joe would be interested in that. We'll just kind of wait till, if he gets back with me, I'll stay in touch with him and see if anything develops there.
Sure. Did he mention to you any size as far as what, are they acre,
You know what?
acre?
I didn't ask that. I probably should have, I guess, but
Okay.
I can get some more of that.
I'm sure that they've been surveyed and
Yeah, they are. So yeah, I guess if that's something that the board is interested in, we can bring it forward to the commission and go from there. Okay, that's all I know. All right. Yeah.
Thanks, Darrell.
Steve McCullough is the realtor.
no, he's the former owner of the land to the east and of the airport.
And he wants to
All
be
that
able to sell
farmland
them
there.
as,
He sold the farmland to Joe Nelson. I'm going to say, that been 5-6 years ago, Mike?
Yeah, it's been,
At least that,
Least
maybe 8.
but he wants to sell the
But
corners.
he kept the corners. Joe wasn't interested in them because the pivots didn't reach there.
And they want to sell those as a home that has access through the fence, is what you're saying. Okay.
that's exactly what they'd be, is access through the fence.
Okay.
We have to remember those corner lots get pretty close to the influence line coming off the center of the runway.
Yes, they do.
That means you can only build a hangar so tall, right? Or that means you can only build so tall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be another issue, is the altitude.
Lance, what is the FAA doing currently about through the fence access on FAA-funded airports?
Yeah, Rick sent out some guidance there. He emailed out some guidance, but they are allowing it. There are some restrictions to it, but you are allowed to have it at general aviation airports. There's only a few in Montana. I think there's 3, and most of them are all, had through the fence and were set up as air parks when they got essentially taken over, and became federally eligible. That's the case for Ennis. It was always a air park and got set up that way, and so it was somewhat, I shouldn't even say grandfathered, because it is allowed even to go into it. But that is one of the reasons why they're trying to maintain it, is because it's always been set up that way, and those lots were developed that direction with that in mind. I would say it doesn't come with it without its issues. I just caution you. The pros are obviously it may generate more interest in your airport, may generate more use. That's obviously a pro. The cons are a lot of things. access is not being maintained, not maintaining culverts that are associated with those access locations and causing erosion, tracking mud and dirt and everything, because a lot of them aren't paved access locations, they're gravel or whatever. Plowing is an issue, people leaving gates open is an issue. And Ennis, what we're up against right now is they decided they wanted to put in wildlife fence, which isn't required at this point in time. You guys just have 4.5 foot farm fence. That's fine. That may never change, but if you decided at some point in time, or it became required at some point in time, and you put a 9 foot tall fence up, high wing aircraft don't. You end up with big gates.
They're not very friendly with 9 foot fences.
No, that's a really high wing aircraft that you'd have to have. So there's just issues with that, associated with that, and Ennis is struggling with it. You have to get an approved. You have to dictate where those access locations are at. Dictate that they have to maintain them, that they have to, pay for the gates, they have to improve the gates, they have to keep the gates closed, stuff like that. But even with that access agreement, you know how it is. People just, no, I'm just going to go up for a little while and leave the gate wide open, because they don't want to get out and shut the gate. And so there are some issues with it. It's just something that you guys need to be aware of when you decide what to do. And then currently, once you get a residential through the fence agreement, like a base agreement, which would kind of be like a lease agreement, in place and approved by the FAA would approve that for, Ennis has got approved for 20 years. So they got theirs when they signed this Reauthorization Act in 2012 that Rick sent out. Ennis got theirs taken care of in whatever 2013, and they have 20 years on it that they can maintain that. And then it could go away if the FAA decides at that point in time to. We haven't heard any rumblings of that, but that's a possibility.
Well, you never know. Things change, times change, and
yeah. So, and we're struggling with it at Ennis as well, because they did a major expansion project this year, and part of that expansion changed the grades, particularly along the east side of the runway. It was steeper up that side, and we had to widen all the safety areas. Well, that made all the accesses steeper, and then all these people that have through the fence are, they're not liking the steeper grades, even though that is on airport property and in the control of the county. They're complaining that we changed all the grades, which we did, and we didn't really have any choice at. So it can impact and make things more difficult to just continually maintain and operate your airport, particularly when it comes to any future expansion or anything like that, which I don't know that you guys are going to want to go to, Ennis's size anytime soon, but at 60 feet wide, would you be wanting to go to 75 feet wide? Would that change grades? Would that change slopes? And how would that impact those access locations to where, maybe it would make them infeasible if we expand it.
we're getting back to the crystal ball, aren't we?
Yeah, there's just potential impacts there that they're struggling with, and they're trying to maintain them, of course, and doing their best, but they're also trying to protect their airport and grow their airport. And sometimes those conflict. So I'm not necessarily discouraging. I just want you to go into it with
Open eyes.
open eyes, so you guys know what we're seeing and seeing at other airports and struggling with at other airports.
So I read the stuff that Rick sent out. Is there a way to get like a boilerplate agreement that this is kind of the standard agreement, and then we of course would look at it and maybe modify it or whatever, but is there a way to get something like that?
Sure, yeah. I can send you Ennis's.
Okay.
They already got approved. I'm sure Madison County, it's public anyways, but they're all the counties are pretty helpful, trying to help other airports out if they've already been through it, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they won't have any problem with that whatsoever. So I can send you
Is that air park at Whitehall, is that an FAA airport? I didn't think so.
Where's that?
At Whitehall, that air park that's right there by the.
That's all privately
Yeah.
owned.
I think that would help us determine if it's good, bad, or indifferent, if we could see what it looks like specifically.
They're pretty simple agreements. I mean, you know, as far as the agreement itself, I kind of ran through it. If you charge long-term parking fees on your apron, you have to charge a similar rate to that for access. So if you're charging somebody $50 a month to park, you have to charge the access person $50 a month. That way, off airport and on airport, you're not competing.
Pretty similar to
Similar
what we do at
rates.
Canyon Ferry.
Yeah,
The lease for a hangar, I pay the same thing for through the fence.
yep. And so you'd want to do that. You know, if you don't charge long-term parking fees and you don't have any, I guess you could charge zero, because then you're not competing with each other. You know, they can't have commercial operations off airport. This is only for, you know, singular use. They
Residential.
can't compete by selling fuel off airport where they're not paying, you know, fuel flowage fees or something like that. So it's residential only. It's not commercial. You can't have commercial through the fence.
I think, you know, if something like that were to come about, the county and the through the fence access, when you sign that agreement, that information's all there.
Yes, it is. And so that's what's in this agreement, that they have to maintain their gate, that they have to maintain their approach and their access, that the county's not going to fund any portion of that, you know, things like that. But it still gets sticky when we need to redo the ditch lines, and then we rip out and say they pave it and decide they want to pave it, and the county needs to redo the ditch lines for some reason, we rip out pavement. Do we just say, tough luck? You know, I mean, I guess you could, but it's just hard, you know, we just tore out a chunk of their access, you know, now are you spending your own money to try and put it back the way it was, things like that. So it can create issues, but you know, it also has some benefits to try and, you know, generate more interest and use in your airport. So it's just something you guys need to decide if it's something you want. But I can send you the NS
Okay.
agreement.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess we pretty much covered new business.
No, well, that was under old business, Mike, and we're on number
Oh.
3. There, Rodeo Airport pasture fencing.
Oh, yeah, the
I only had that in there because it was stated that if we discussed at a future meeting, we can always table it again until Al's here.
Yeah, I think Al was going to talk to somebody on that, so,
You can always just say table it till next time.
yes.
yeah, just maybe put it on the agenda next month.
I did
know
have
what he's talking about, though.
a rodeo board member approach me and ask what our plans are and whatever, so they
Yeah,
are discussing it and would like to know the deal.
Were you able to talk with them, Daryl, since we talked yesterday?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna meet with Wynn, and he's out of town at a conference. When he gets back, we're gonna sit down and have a discussion, talk about what you guys are proposing as far as for purchasing the materials, and then we'd all pitch in and have a fencing day or something.
And that was to fence off halfway down there so that it left more room for airport development.
But Steve brought up a good point. The way their wheel line is set up right now, they'd have to break it and move it all down, because that portion of the wheel line covers that at the moment, so they'd have to change that. But not a big deal.
Them horsey people know all about that stuff. Okay, and I don't know what the leased airport property use issues were.
That one was also from last meeting, where it was tabled to ask Mike if he had any input or
Okay, yeah.
but not from it. I think it's the third paragraph down. No one was sure if, permission was granted without anyone knowing, basically.
For campers, yes.
Yeah, and random vehicles and whatnot parked that are
Yeah,
longevity parked out there. So that can also be tabled if you want to do that till when Al gets here too.
yeah. Well, what they're wanting to do was, the FAA said that was okay if we wanted to put a fence across that end of the airport. And they would have to maintain it.
Oh, you're talking about the rodeo using
Yeah.
the south end?
Yeah,
Which I think is what something else is Daryl's going to talk with Lynn
Right.
about, is basically trading pastures so
Yeah.
that they can still do that.
Yeah.
So the one that we're talking more, number 4, was on the leased airport property use issues with the regs and rules that we have for the lease agreements. That there won't be any permanent parking of vehicles that on airport property, basically.
no, that would be on airport property, but they'd have to fence it, put a fence across.
Oh, we're talking about lessees of airport property, of the hangars, own hangars.
Yeah,
So, are you saying they can put a fence around their vehicles?
well, I don't know.
Okay. Do you want me to?
I would guess that was part of it.
Yeah, I could.
What they're talking about, Mike, was there's a couple individuals that are using the property that we don't feel falls within the lease. One being John Mellon and Chuck Carver. And we were going to discuss that. Do you want to get up and John was brought up about his campers, and I asked John to come here and speak to the board about what he was doing and see if he could get your approval.
Evening, gentlemen.
Howdy.
I'm John Sindler, and I'm one of the residents here on the airport. Recently, a good friend of mine, who's my right-hand mechanic when it comes to getting some work done, I've allowed him to bring his motorhome up here and park it alongside the hangar when he's working with me. And of course, I had put hookups on the east side of the hangar for that purpose without getting any express approval for it from the board. I talked to Mike about it long before I did that work, but anyhow, so that's what I've been doing, and I would certainly like the board's approval. There won't be any permanent parking of anything there, of course, but Al brought it up with me that it wasn't acceptable, period, to have a camper alongside the hangar. So that's where it's at, and I'll just have to leave it to you guys to decide how you want to work that, I guess. It's a real attribute for me to be able to, that makes it very worthwhile, and I get a lot more work done for customers on the field and otherwise that bring their airplanes to me when Steve's around. I triple the amount of work I do because Steve does twice the amount of work I can do in a day, so anyhow.
I guess we need to go back and look at the original leases and see if there was anything specific in there.
And there isn't, Bob. I've looked at that, and there isn't anything that precludes the use of anything like that I could find in my lease.
I I don't think it says in the rules and regs that since the RV is being used for airport or aviation business uses, I think that technically falls underneath the uses, the acceptable uses for having a vehicle out there. But that's in the rules and regs and not in the lease agreement.
Yeah.
They're two separate things. So
Yeah.
we'll have to go through and make sure it's outlaying for, especially, but in this case, it is for aviation business, so it's not just out there camping at the campfire and having fun.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Does he, let me ask you this, John, does he have any plans about eventually putting it someplace else? Or is
Oh,
is-
sure, late in the season, during the winter months and stuff, obviously, it's not gonna be around here. Yeah, it'll be back at his home in Billings, yeah.
But he plans on doing this summer after summer, or
Oh, for the foreseeable future, yeah, yeah. You know, even when it's up here, like the last 2 weeks, it was gone while he was out camping with it, so. And that's kind of a hit and miss deal. I mean, when he's around here, he's helping me, that's where I've been keeping it, and that's obviously what I would like to have happen, but I'll let you guys decide.
Generally speaking, it's here all summer.
Well, it has, this is the first
Give or-
year
give or
we've done
take.
anything,
Oh, okay.
but it would be in the vicinity most of the summer, because they do a lot of camping and stuff. When he's not working with me, they're gone with it, you know, so. Yeah, it would be here off and on all summer is my intent anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
is there any way to extend the utilities out to where he can park it in the park or in the parking lot, so he has no rules to worry about?
Yeah, but can he park it in the parking lot? My understanding was
Right.
that was a no-no. It's in itself.
So it's like, are we fighting our own rules or are we fighting the FAA rules on inside the fence, outside the fence?
yeah,
So,
Well, there's car parking lots over there, and I would say, you could park it in there, but,
Well-
but then what are you gonna do when you gotta, drain it? And
Well, yeah, I guess
you
he
don't
could.
have a septic.
Yeah, I guess he could come through the fence quickly enough to do that, I guess. I mean, and services, certainly the services that I've got there, the water and electric could be run over there easily enough. I didn't know that parking in the parking lot itself would be an option. I know there's been people during hunting season and stuff camp in the lot there, and apparently that's not supposed to be a campground, so.
Right.
I think
But-
it might depend on the use, since his use is for an aviation
Uh-huh.
business related and strictly
Okay.
aviation. That might be something we can look at. Because who owns the hangar home that Neil has? They can park in the parking lot. Technically, they're not in their garage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a gray area because, you know, somebody else parks their camper next to their hangar and says, well, this guy over here is doing it. And then we come back and say, well, but that's aviation related, and they're gonna come back and say, well, I go into the hangar and work on my airplane.
Yeah.
So,
I'm pretty soon you got a storage lot.
A trailer park,
right.
yeah. Okay, well, I'll leave that up to the board.
everyone needs to discuss, and Al probably should be here for that.
Al will have input on that for sure.
I
So,
was going to
yeah.
mention that. Mike, I'd like to suggest we table this until we have a full board and till Mike's here, or Al's here, and we have the specifics as far as what we can do in that parking lot and what we can't do. And
Yeah,
Lance, have you ran across this with other airports at all?
Not specifically.
Hate to lean on you like this. but-
Yeah, not specifically. I mean, the FAA obviously would frown on it, just the same way they do with hangar homes. Obviously they don't really like those, and we'll talk with the FAA about it, but about what the details were with yours specifically. But Most people don't allow any storage of vehicles or campers outside of their hangars, even for a week.
Yeah, well, there's a transit, I might call it that, parking lot there for people that come and go with their plane, and they leave it tied down out there during the night and the weekends and so on and so forth. And I don't know if there's any openings as far as what we could do there. Or the only thing I do know, John, I know that the rodeo club, they evidently they have some kind of a thing that they park campers there in the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that, Darrell?
It's a specific event, I don't know. There's some group that travels around and they actually rent the fairgrounds and camp there for a week or whatever.
Okay.
I guess I can give you my personal experience. I'll just jump up here and talk about it. So when I was running my son's aerial application business down in Dillon, we asked the same question of the board down there, and they did allow me to put a camper alongside our hangar because it was an aviation-related business, just like Jesse said, for the summer, for the months that we were working down there, and they didn't have a problem with it. So that's
Inside the airport proper.
Yep. And the way it worked there, I mean, I was all self-contained, and I just had somebody, one of the local septic guys came up and pumped my tanks, and
Yeah,
it worked fun. And then, of course, when the season was over, then we moved the trailer and brought it back again in the spring. So the other thing is I like to see John stay on the field. He's one of our only mechanics on the field, and
Nope.
I don't want to I'd hate to see a big
No.
burden on him. And
No.
so I'll
It's
put
definitely an asset to the
put it
Yeah,
in
well,
reasons.
we're just trying to keep from getting bit on the other side.
Well, I think there might be some things you could do there as well. I mean,
sure.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, it could be by definition of FAA's permanency is all year.
Yeah.
Or 9 months out of the year,
Yeah.
something like that. Maybe if he's only out there for 4 months of the year, it's not qualified.
But yeah, I think warrants some more research and more discussion.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think that's a good idea.
So we can table that until.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, if you got any new business, I think we're down to that now.
Any other comments from the floor?
I have one. I had a telephone call from a gentleman in Great Falls the other day. I believe it's called Highway Specialties, Darrell. They're going to be doing some work here on Main Street and other streets in town. And he is a pilot. He's going to have foreman that's running the job, superintendent, etc. But he said he will be coming down from time to time and want to know if there was a place he could leave a vehicle. So I mentioned the parking lot alongside. Because it will be aviation related, he will be leaving a plane there, using his car instead of our crew car. To start with, he asked if there was a crew car that he could come down and, I think when the project gets started, he wanted to be able to use the crew car. And I said, I can't guarantee it'll be there, but if it's there, I don't see that there's a problem with you coming down one day and running around with it. But I said it's got to stay within the area here at the airport. But anyone know about a forklift? I happen to think of a forklift that's for rent down there at the Silos Junction. So I sicked him on them, and maybe we got him because they're going to have a bunch of freight coming in, semi-loads of freight coming in for whatever they're going to be doing on the streets here. And they have a piece of property leased out here by the highway department, and that they're going to use for a lay-down area to store their material they're going to be using. So, but he called me, I don't know why. Well, I know why. Mike never took my name off the list as airport manager over there. But anyway, I told him what I knew about, what he could do and so on and so forth. So he will be showing up one of these days, and you'll probably notice he'll be going. I told him the information was inside the pilot's lounge as far as how to get the key and what I had to sign out and sign the vehicle out and so on and so forth. So
Was he basically asking if he could park his car in the parking lot?
and he asked if there was a place, and I said there was a parking lot behind John's mechanic shop there. So
That's what it's for.
I guess the only comment would be there is if he's just coming down and using it to run around and not spend all day or a couple days using our vehicle. You know what I'm saying? If he's gonna come down here and work here for a week or two, he probably should be providing his own vehicle. Not running our.
But Daryl, I can't guarantee that vehicle will be there. He might show up at 9 o'clock in the morning and somebody checked it out.
That's what I'm saying, he should have his own vehicle here, just, if that's what he's gonna be doing.
Yeah, that's what he was planning on doing, his own vehicle. But on the get-go, you want to know if there was some vehicle that could be used, and I told him yes. So. Okay, Mike, did you look at the deal that Steve had here for as far as fuel and that? We've used 1,548 gallons of fuel in the last month.
Yes, Steve's been watching that.
Approximately 5,645 gallons in the tank. And Adam asked me a while ago how long I thought that'd last. I said with summer coming on, you're probably 2 months or a little longer, and that could be gone. It depends on the weather. If we sold 1,548 the last month, and the weather wasn't very good, you could darn sure pick that up by 1,000 gallons. Especially with, if we get into Oshkosh time frame and that will.
Well, especially if we leave it at $4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's probably something we ought to be addressing too. It's $4 is cheaper than the wholesale price.
So technically, you guys could buy a half load, right? And be able to fit it in there.
What?
Yeah.
Half load.
Yeah. But see, the wholesale price on 7,000 gallons is $4.09. That's 9 cents more than our pump price.
And you're gonna have to try it, or to help keep that down. You're gonna have to find someone to split the load with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep Cody in mind, he always needs fuel,
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we've done it. We've split it with Exec Air or somebody in Helena too.
I'm sure you got a lot of options out there.
And City Service has a whole list of customers that have the same questions. Who can I split a load of fuel with? So.
I have a feeling gas prices are just gonna keep climbing.
Yeah. Oh yes.
So if you decide to go wait till June, it's probably quite a bit more to buy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If we wait 2 months and then buy it, our price is going to jump $1 or better.
Oh, something,
Well, we've got, Steve's been watching that fuel, and this is what the new price is for 10,000 gallons.
we can't take, we're quite a ways away from taking 10. We're not far away from taking a 7, but.
Well, yeah, no way could we can't take
We can't
10,000
we can't take
gallons.
7 right now.
That's quite a bit of.
Do you remember what did they fill that to 90%? Or is it 80%?
It's 90%,
Yeah.
It's a 10,000 or 12,000 gallon tank.
12.
Yeah.
So you start out, you don't have the room in the tank that you
Right.
might otherwise have. You could squeeze more in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I do have another comment or other business that I think we might want to look into. In visiting with the accountants over here at the county, they said that the credit card thing, we can, like the county does, if you pay your taxes with a credit card, the credit card fee is applied to the purchaser. And I think we ought to address that and see if with Big Sky Commerce we can do that.
You should do that.
And that would help our current situation where we're.
Is it 3%? Is that what their fee is? Big Sky Commerce, is there?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what card. Every card is different as far as the fees. I think, to my knowledge, it runs from like 3 to 5.5%, depending. Last I knew, American Express was 5 or a little more %. But I think we ought to delve into this a little bit and see what we can come up with as far as if they've addressed that with anybody else, and what we have to do, because they probably would have to have the program for that, and it would have to be there'd have to be a sign there at the pump that credit card fees will be added to the purchase price. But I'm willing to go ahead and pursue looking into this, and I'll bring it up at a future meeting as soon as I find something out.
Well, do we want to pursue finding somebody to split a load with us soon?
What do you think, Mike? Sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks, do we want to see if we can split a load with somebody?
Do what?
Split a load of fuel with somebody within the next month?
Well, that we could do.
I'd almost rather do that than wait 2 months and then
Yeah, right in the middle of summer.
big spike at the worst possible time.
That's what we've done in the past. But you're going to pay dearly for it.
Oh, yeah. 7,000 gallons, $4.09 a gallon. We're only charging $4.
So we got 5,645 gallons in the tank right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we have room for 5,000 gallons. If we split a 10,000 gallon load with someone sooner than later,
Yeah,
I think that would be a benefit.
And I don't remember, it seemed to me that it wasn't consistent as far as city services. When we split a load, sometimes they added some additional money to it, and sometimes they didn't, depending on where the truck had to go for the other portion of the load. Isn't that way you remember it, Mike?
yeah, all of our fuel now is coming out of Billings. And
So if Cody could use 5,000 gallons, we could split a load with him, we would probably be looking at 403 a gallon.
what they try to do is, there's several places where there's several places along the way from Billings, would be like, Columbus, Big Timber, Livingston, and of course, Bozeman
Bozeman, Three Forks.
and Three Forks, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Cody, because he's spraying. So, yeah, we really don't need him rolling in and taking 500 gallons in his trailer off of the pump there, do we?
Well,
Less than wholesale price.
he's,
Well, we do have a guy that does that, so.
I know.
Cody's flying turbines now, so he's not gonna probably get fuel from you. But he still has fuel at his hangar
Yeah, well,
at the
What-
FPO.
but he's, uses jet fuel.
yeah,
We don't have jet.
no, we don't have jet fuel.
I'm just saying we're in a bad position because somebody could buy it cheaper from us than they can buy it wholesale and go resell it or whatever.
That's
That's why I think we should get a
That's
load.
happened to us too.
Yeah, I think we should get a half load as soon as we can. If we can split it with Exec or,
Well, we need to get the
Whoever.
price up there to where we're not selling below wholesale market.
right,
So you need a motion to buy a load of fuel, and a motion to raise the price to whatever you guys want to set it at.
well, I would move that we immediately pursue buying a half load and finding somebody to split it with. As soon as we can.
I would be in favor of that also. But we need to get back and get back to where we were before, to where when we cover our credit card fees and so on, we still have the 50 cents profit over the top as far as fuel price.
So what would that be? That would have put it at 466, assuming a 3% credit card. Or is that what the credit card?
Well, they're
Charges it.
3 to 5.5%. It all depends on what credit card they're using. That's why it would be really lucrative to put the sign up and be able to reverse some fees to the purchaser.
Yeah, either that or build it into the price of the fuel, either way.
Yeah. It needs to be addressed one way or the other.
I like the simplicity of just building it into the price rather than an additional sign and an additional fee and blah, blah, blah. My opinion.
Well, I'm kind of like Adam. I think we'd do ourselves a favor if we tried to find somebody in the next month, split a load of 10,000 gallon load of fuel with them and get a little more fuel in our tank for the summer, and hopefully the price will go down next fall. And we need to address that fuel price too.
Is that something we need to vote on, or do we just pursue it?
And normally Mike takes care of it, but I don't know if,
Well, it is spending money, so I don't know, they probably should have a motion to actually purchase. And Adam made this motion and Bob seconded. Now they need the discussion and approval.
okay. Yeah, I'll consider mine a second.
Floor is open for discussion. Anyone have anything to add or throw in there?
I think it's a good idea.
Are we gonna raise the price?
Yeah, well, that needs to be addressed. Do you remember, Mike, off the top of your head, what you had entered in there as far as credit card fees and that before? And then the 50 cent over the top that we're supposed to have for airport profit?
Was the total 65 cents, Mike?
Pardon?
Do you remember the total we were adding to the fuel? Was it it was close to 65 cents? Do you remember?
Well, we used to add 50 cents.
Plus,
Plus the credit card fees.
Yes.
right.
And we got the internet. In fact, I've got some of that stuff here. We have the internet and the telephone both now,
Yeah.
so that needs to be factored
Well, with
into
the-
a yearly on a yearly.
With the internet now, it's better than it was.
Oh yeah, but we still have the telephone and the internet. We still have both bills.
Yes.
In fact, let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, the total was around 65 cents.
Okay.
See, and
It was.
if you figured
Okay.
at like 409 a gallon, if you figured just an average of 4%, that comes out 16.36 cents per gallon. So if you added that to the 50 cents, that makes it 66 cents, but that's not addressing that internet fee and the telephone bill. And they're not, let me see if I got it here. Someone down there asking questions, so we knew where we were, and ended up with a whole raft of paperwork.
Well, we've got two different conversations going. There's been a motion and second discussion on buying a half a load of fuel. I would call for the question on that, and then we can discuss raising the price in the meantime as a separate issue. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because you can always do the price next time too, because you don't know exactly what you might buy this fuel at too.
Yeah.
But at least raise it up maybe a certain amount of cents.
Well,
Or agree on that.
but you want to take care of motion and second for the purchase of fuel?
Yes.
Okay,
All that's left is a.
Chairman, you want to call for a vote?
Motion's been made and seconded to look into sharing a load of fuel. With sharing a partial load of fuel. To get the tank back up to the maximum amount that we can hold. Is that what?
Yep. All in favor?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve? Darrell? Okay. So motion's been made and carried. That we'll do that. And
Okay,
Okay,
regarding we're raising the price, have we ever done that without buying fuel? Like, we have?
Yeah. Well, and what I had here, Steve looked it up out there, what we paid for that last load of fuel. I wrote down 3.962. Was that,
You didn't get that from me. There's no,
I wonder where that
There's
comes,
no
7,000
dollar
gallons on March 18th.
there's no dollar amount on those invoices, just a gallon.
Okay, well, where I guess where I got that was off from the bill here, $27,734.96, and I must have divided it out by the 7,000 gallons. My phone's dead, so I can't, without long-handing it, I can't do that. But that Montana internet fee is $55 a month. And the telephone's worse than that, if I remember right. Was the 7,000 gallons is what you gave me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the fuel had to be more than 397. I mean, less.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you're not making anything. Like,
Because I
about 3
believe
cents.
Mike called me when I was in Florida. And we moved it to the 4, and I thought it was gonna go to 440.
Yeah, that Blackfoot Communications, is that who the telephone line is through? Mike?
who?
Blackfoot Communications?
I don't know who that is.
I don't either. They're a telephone company evidently.
Blackfoot.
Do you have any idea, Daryl?
Well, I know your internet's through Montana Internet.
Right, Montana Internet's the internet, but
Blackfoot's the internet provider.
Blackfoot is the internet
Yeah.
provider?
Well, they are for us here and throughout the city. They, I don't know,
Because we have a bill here from,
maybe, or they might be providing your phone service.
yeah, and that, if it's Blackfoot Communications, it's $58.71 a month.
Probably right, because if they have a contract with the county, so I imagine they probably have all the county related phone line stuff, so I think that's probably right.
So we have $110.71 a month between the phone bill and the internet. That has to be amortized into that fuel also. I don't know what's the best way to do that. Do it on a 12-month basis and go off from our
How many gallons of fuel we got?
normal fuel sales. I know this year wouldn't be a proper year to do it off from this past year because with COVID around, there wasn't much activity at all.
Well, that price isn't gonna change, that's gonna be the fixed cost over 12-month period,
But,
right?
yeah, but you really have to, if you try to break that down into how much per gallon, you have to have a annual flow number.
Yeah, but we don't take two 10,000 gallon deliveries.
Right.
So if he even said 10,000 gallons,
That's
it's
what I would do.
16 cents or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Say $1,000, 1,000 gallons a month.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably on a normal year. That's probably about our average sales. Somewhere's around 1,000 gallons a month. Summer will be more, winter will be less, but it has to tally out somewhere's in that average. Yeah, see, the internet that come out to 16 cents a.
Well, if it's
No, that wasn't internet. That was the credit card. That was the
it's
credit
6
card.
cents.
That was the credit card was 16 cents. So I'll work on it some more before we have another meeting. Sorry I didn't have that put together, but
Well, I think Doug Ellis said that it's been over a year ago that outfit you're talking about were not easy to work with.
who are you talking about? The internet or Blackfoot Communications?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Because it does not say for airport phone, but it does say communications, and it's a monthly bill, and it's on the airport tally sheet, along with,
And if you amortize the internet and phone together, and then this is 1,000 gallons a month thing, you're at about 12 cents. And then on top of your credit card fees,
Right.
which are
so
16
which would
cents.
make about, if you average the credit cards at 4%,
That's about 16 cents,
yeah.
right about there. So you're just under 30 cents just for those bills
And then you add the 50 cents that we're supposed to have.
So averaged of 80 cents total over what you pay wholesale. Right about there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually not too bad considering some other gas prices.
Well, everybody has these bills. It doesn't matter whether it's people in Bozeman, White Sulphur Springs, or wherever. Everybody's got to have the same setup. I'm sure we're not the only ones that had to go with the internet and the telephone. So,
Well, I'd like to have a discussion about raising the price. What's the protocol? I have to have a motion in order to discuss?
Yeah, I think you guys need to decide on that now.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get taken advantage of it here pretty quick.
Yep.
Okay,
so-
The state knows you're gonna have the cheapest fuel, and somebody will take advantage of it. So
Okay.
I think you need to do that tonight.
So I'll make a motion to raise the price to $4.83. That's 30 cents for expenses, 50 cents for profit on top of the 10,000, which is what we're shooting to get. So that is my motion.
I wish I knew what the heck we paid for the fuel that's in there, but I don't.
Well, for 5 cents off, we're still 75 cents better than we're doing now.
Yeah. Well, who knows what it'll be when we order. I'll second that motion.
What are your thoughts on 483?
I think you're pretty close. Three Forks is $4.95.
I just paid $5.06 in Kalispell the other day.
Bozeman's $5.71.
Self-serve.
Yeah.
Helen is $4.89. I mean, I can find Bozeman's $5.71. Livingston's $5.15. Big Timber's $5.15.
So even at 483, we're very competitive.
Yeah.
If you find that this new load of fuel.
Or just a tad below them, but
You can
we're,
always change it again.
Right.
we're just a tad below majority of the other ones, but that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as we still have our expenses covered and our 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're ready for a vote, Mike?
For the 486?
483 is what I proposed. Yeah.
What is it in, like Columbus?
1 second. Great Falls is $5.45. White Sulphur's $4.62.
Oh, really?
They said we use no fuel.
Yeah.
$4.75.
It's 475.
Yes, at Columbus.
Do you have any thoughts, John? How does that affect you?
You know, right now, a wild ass guess is as good as anything.
It
really
is.
is. I mean,
Right.
if you're within a nickel of what the rate should be, what
Yeah. Right.
No, and we're looking at
I think that.
we're looking at prices that it might be a dime higher when we actually get the
Absolutely.
load split.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I think you gotta do what you gotta do, right, and I agree, right now, it's, time to do it.
Yep,
Now.
right.
Yeah. Steve hesitates is gonna be lost on this deal with the fuel thing.
Yeah.
I would call for the vote, Mike. Or call the question, whatever the right way to say that is.
Yep, call for the question.
Any other business?
Oh, we got a motion, and a second. And a call for the question, we need to vote.
Well, what was the,
Adam has a motion on the floor to raise the price to $4.83 at the fuel pump. And I seconded that. We need to vote on that.
okay, who seconded?
I did.
You made the motion?
Adam made the motion.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Motion carried.
Can you give Mike a hand with that tomorrow? Can you give Mike a hand with that tomorrow?
All you gotta call Doug Ellis.
Yeah, okay. But then it has to be
And
done
then I'll change the number at
on the pump. Yeah,
At the pump.
thank you.
How does that work on the, like your internet prices? Do you,
Well, I gotta talk to Mike. The woman has been calling Mike
oh, okay.
to verify.
Oh, I see. And then they post it.
Right.
Okay.
It's a service.
We get calls, or I get calls,
Does she still call you once a week?
yes,
So when she calls this week, you have to tell her 483.
483.
Right. Is that it?
I think so.
So, Mike, maybe when she calls, you can give her either my number or maybe Adam's or somebody else's. And, we could talk to her also.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him.
they're, I get these calls at least once a week. They're,
And then on the internet too. Emails looking for a price.
when they're checking what the price of fuel is.
Well, Mike, if you don't have any other business, I would move to close.
All right, is there one of these being developed or will be during this next engineering period? We'll develop that. We'll have one of these, yeah.
So no new business?
Oh, and Adam's got a motion to adjourn. I'll second. I think we're adjourned, Chairman.
Okay.
Been moved and to adjourn.
Pardon?
No, I had a long trip today. I went to.
What'd you say, Mike?
Oh, my goodness. So you're still gonna make the jump to Canada?
Yeah, I wasn't going on there. I could have stopped. back. I picked something like sulfur, but I was running early enough, I went back on it. I live on this townhouse too. I'm not even quite.
Good night, all you guys. Have a good evening.
Yep, thank you, John. You too.
Yeah,
Cool.
good to meet you.
See you later.
We'll see if we can't get something worked out to where
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good. Oh, I know. Yeah, they're always a joy to work with.